Hi there, my name is Mark Tanner and I'm the co-chair of the Ontario NetSuite user group. And unfortunately, we had a few glitches with the recording of our April 21st session and we missed the first half of the agenda. So I wanted to just cover off some of the survey results and also the building corporate save searches in NetSuite as well session. Okay, so bring you guys up to speed. So let's go through actually the agenda for this meeting was looking through our ONSUG, our Ontario NetSuite user group, group dynamics. So we have some survey results to review. Darrell was going through roles and security. I am going through building corporate safe searches in NetSuite. Then we had our meeting sponsor, Message Media, who will be going over their application. And also we have a session called Bring Your Questions. So something a little bit new where we're going to try and answer as many questions on the spot as we can. And then we have our Ontario NetSuite user group July meeting teaser as well from Lisa at the end. So the recording will be in two sections. So I'll take care of the first section and then we will continue on with the actual recorded when Message Media came on. Okay, so going through a few of the segments on the survey. So what best reflects your company? And one good question there is, professional services actually was the most, followed by software, internet, followed by manufacturing, not-for-profit, and also other. So very interesting mix of attendees and from that survey results. And again, if you have not completed the survey, I think it's an open-ended survey. Please, at the end of the session, I think we're going to be sharing what that link will be. How many NetSuite licenses does your company have? So the majority are 1 to 30. Then we have a good chunk between 76 and 100, and then a few followed by greater than 150. But I would say the majority of our membership is probably less than 75 users in the org. So identifying your interest in learning about NetSuite modules. So we've, again, as part of the survey, we've listed out different modules that are available within NetSuite. And the number one was advanced financials, revenue management, planning and budgeting, electronic bank payments, and then CRM. And then it goes down from there. But this gives us a really good view as to what we will present at future meetings, which is fantastic. Thank you very much for the feedback. Identifying your level of interest for topics of the future, and these are just general topics. So, this is not surprising. Save searches is usually at the top of the list, followed by implementation tips and tricks, free add-ons and bundles, then custom transactions, followed closely by custom records and fields. So, again, great way for us to figure out what the future agenda will be. Okay, so I'm going to jump to my presentation now. I'm actually going to do everything within our environment. So NetSuite gives us a license, an environment license for, I think it's about 10 users to go into, and for presentation purposes, we can build up an environment and show you certain things without us going into our individual company environments. But today we're gonna tackle how do we put save searches or links or reports into a NetSuite menu. And the NetSuite menu I'll show you in a sec, but it's the bar across the top. So we're going to show you how to create new menus there. We're going to use center tabs, center categories, and center links to do that. We're going to build up that new menu. We're going to add some save searches. We're going to add some links to NetSuite forms, and also add links to some external websites as well. So hopefully you get something great out of this session. Okay, I'm just going to stop my presentation for a sec, and I am going to bring up our environment. All right, so here's the NetSuite user group. Actually, I'm going to start a new one here. Let me just clean tabs here so that it's a little bit more clear as to what I'm going to be tackling. So when we talk about NetSuite menus, so that's up at the top here. And if I refresh this one, I've actually, you'll see that Save Searches no longer appears. And that's what we're going to build up right now. So we've got a clean environment here, clean menu system. How do we add menus? And one thing that we've done at DMB is create save searches and save searches by department. And I showed that at the last meeting, and there was enough interest there to ask me, how do you actually do it? So that's what today's session is all about. So if I did go down to save searches, and if you did the same in your environment, you may have a lot, probably guaranteed, a lot more than just 4 save searches here that are listed. So actually there are more save searches. These are the only ones in your save search. If you say show in menu, that will create them here and show them off here. So, and it's not a great way if you, here at Danby, we have hundreds of save searches that are used by different departments. And what we found was it's easier to onboard new employees or have SOPs for employees where they have one spot to go for all the save searches for their department. So that's one of the main reasons why we did this, and it's going to make a little bit of sense in a second. So how do we get started and do this? Well, first of all, what we have to do is create, first of all, a center tab. So these are called tabs. So we're going to go into the customization. We're going to go to centers and tabs, and here's center tabs. Let's just go into center tabs to start. Okay, there's nothing here. So we're going to create a new one. We're going to call it something. So let's call this one Save Searches. I don't need an ID, but the center is pretty important. So if you wanted this menu to only show up for employees that are in the accounting center or classic center, customer center, any of the other centers here, sales center, you can do that. And for this demo purpose, and what I would recommend is just do it for all, and then you can create different folders for each of those departments accessing it. So it might be a bit easier. So we're going to say all, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to save that. When I go and save that, you'll notice now I've got Save Searches on the menu. When I hover over it, it doesn't do anything because there's nothing there. So this is where we're going to start to build this up. And the way that you build it up now is all of these other menus are called center categories. So we're going to go back to customization. We're going to go to centers and tabs, center categories, and let's just click on that and see if there's any set up. Okay, there's a couple set up already. There's a performance one and dashboard title. So we're going to go and create a new one. And let's maybe start with sales. Okay, so sales as a department. Okay, so the center type, now I have to choose an actual center type for this one. And notice there is not a method to choose all, but if you choose the center, the classic center, that should be everybody included in that. Now I have to pick my center tab. So remember, like, this is my center tab. I look for Save Searches. I'll add that. And now I can start to create some links. So I do have a Save Search already created, and that is just my initials, sales order pending approval. Here it is. Now you'll notice there's 2 entries here. There's one that says no results or blank, and then one that says results. Well, if I use this one, it would actually bring me to the editing portion of the Save Search. But we don't want to bring everybody just to the editing part. We want to cut to the chase, give them all of the results. So I'm going to choose results, and I can set a label here as well to make it a little bit easier to understand. And maybe we'll just call this sales orders pending approval. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add that, and I'm going to save it. Okay, so now under Save Searches, now I've got sales and there's sales orders pending approval. If I click my wheel mouse, that opens this link in a new browser tab. So I'll go ahead and do that and just show you, how it launches the Save Search. And I've just got a really just simple Save Search here for this. Okay, so pretty straightforward. We were here, Save Searches, sales. Now we can let's just maybe create a few more. Let's do maybe finance or an accounts payable one. So I'm just going to go through those same steps. Center categories. I'm going to say new. Actually, no, I should not have said new. I should have, because, and I'll show you, center categories. I already have the Save Search one here, sales. And actually, if I wanted to add to the sales menu, I can, and that's where I would edit this. Otherwise, yes, I do need to do a new one. And let's just call this one AP for the department. Center type again is classic. And it's the Save Searches. And let's pick something else. Let's see if there's any AP reports. No. Let's just click the list here and let's see. Okay, so you'll notice here now it's giving us a complete list, so then we can go and search. But you'll notice like it has AP aging, AP payment history by bill, payment by payment, register aging, blah blah blah. So these are all reports. So not only do we have the ability to link to Save Searches, but we could also do reports. So let's just pick the AP aging one. Because it's a pretty good name, I'll leave the label as the same, blank. And I'll click Save there. And now let's go back to our menu as it refreshes. Now we've got AP, and I've got AP aging. And I'm just going to I'll just do the detail in another tab just to show you, hey, it's bringing up the aging in its report, not Save Search. So what we may want to do, if we are including reports, at Danby, we separated them. I have Save Searches and I have reports. But I called it Danby Reports, so it's a little different than this one. But the same theory applies, putting them in by departments. But you could combine them if that's what you would like. All right, so we've got a pretty good start on this. We've got 2 categories, which is great. Now, let's branch off and do a few other things here. And one thing that I've got a little bit of a pet peeve with, let's go to reports, Save Searches, all Save Searches, new. Okay, I'm going to go to a brand new Save Search. So I use this all the time. So, and you can create it as a shortcut, and you can see I've already done that. And when I click this new Save Search, it automatically brings you to this, and then you have to also click Save Search. So it's not really taking us to the exact new Save Search. So this is the URL that I really want to have here. So we can create a link to this exact URL. So I'm going to go up here and let's just copy this one. Okay, so I've got it on my clipboard. And now let's call it a new center category. And maybe let's call this one like tools. I'm going to do the exact same steps as I did before. I'm going to save this to the Save Searches. Okay, and now, but how do I link it now? I can't do the link because this is just a list. I'm not going to be able to find shortcuts or anything. So let's go back to customization, centers and tabs, center links. Okay, new. All right, I'm going to just click on my wheel mouse to open up another tab. I'm quite famous for having a lot of tabs open, by the way. And I'm going to say new, save search. And there's the URL. I'm going to paste that in, and I'm going to click Save. So now I have a link called New Saved Search. So let's go back to the center category and let's see if this is dynamic enough that I can just type in New Saved Search. There it is. There's my new link. Okay, the label will be the exact same as that. I'm happy with that. Awesome. So let's, yeah, sure, why not? Let's save it. Now, when we go back to Save Searches, there's Tools, there's Save Searches, New Save Search, sorry. And when I click that, it takes me to the exact link that I want. And then I can just start building my next Save Searches. So pretty awesome. So we've got a good menu here, but tools are pretty important. Maybe it would be good to have them up at the top. So let's go back to centers. Let's try center categories and tools. So let's reorganize those. Customization, centers and tabs, center tabs. So there's my Save Searches menu. I'm going to go ahead and edit it. And it's weird that it starts with the IDs, but if you look over here, Sales AP Tools, awesome. Now I can just drag that one to the top, Tools, Sales AP. And if I am picky, I could do my departments, then, do Tools, and then, everything is alphabetical after that. Okay, let me save that one. Let's try that out. Perfect. It's looking very clean now. Okay, so we used that copy of the URL, which is great. So wouldn't it be handy if we had access to maybe some more tools? So let's add a couple more tools. I'm going to go back to our centers and categories. And I'm going to, what I forgot again. Well, let's go back. We're going to create some new center links. And I'm going to do this on a new window because, again, I can do this dynamically. And there was one where, let's see, quick tutorial. And I just so happen to have this already saved. And this is just a YouTube link to a training video that I thought was quite cool, actually. And I'm going to go back to my center tabs. And what did I call that? Quick tutorial. Awesome. And maybe there's another one as well. Maybe there's like masterclass or other things that you can add. Very helpful there, but we can add any URL that's outside of the system. One that I found was pretty popular when if NetSuite is experiencing a problem is a site called Down Detector. So downdetector.com, and then you can add NetSuite, and you can see here in our area as well, if you have a location set up on your login, then it will show you any of the down events. So when NetSuite's experiencing a significant problem, you'll see a big spike on there. But right now it's all humming along and very few issues. So again, I can take that URL, which is great. I can go back to my center tabs. I create, there's the center links. Let's create a new center link and call this NetSuite Down Detector. I can paste in that URL. So if you're thinking, the creative juices are flowing here, you can do a lot of things. So if you have like an LMS, we have a Danby University, I could link to a course, I can link to Power BI, I can link to other things like our corporate portal, anything, and put that all on a NetSuite menu so it's just easy and it's in front of everyone to be able to see that. So I'm going to go back to this and I'm going to put in that NetSuite Down Detector, can add that. And again, if I want, I can reorder these two. I'm going to go ahead and save that. And dynamically it is updated for me. Now I have 3 options on my tools. And again, it's going to take us off to an external website, which is awesome. So there is one of the Save Search tutorials. Okay, learn Save Searches in 10 minutes or something. 8 minutes actually. It's awesome. Okay, so I hope that this gives you enough of an idea on how to go ahead and create your menus. Some of the questions that did come up was, can I move the Save Searches to another spot over here? And at this time, no, you cannot. Maybe in the future, NetSuite will give us some of that functionality to do, but as it stands right now, we're unfortunately not able to do that. Okay. So the video is going to carry on to the next section with our Message Media sponsor for today's event. Thanks very much.
Can you go to the next slides, Ryan? So just to talk to the value of SMS, and as Riel kind of mentioned, consumers prefer it these days. If you kind of think about the day-to-day communication you get with businesses that you interact with, most often it's usually still phone and email, but I think I get somewhere in the realm of 1,000 to 2,000 spam emails a month. Seems like anytime someone calls my phone now and I don't have that number saved, it's spam, and I've just kind of tuned it out. It's just noise at this point. So SMS really has a value that it's not as much noise. SMS is the same inbox that your family and friends text you in. If a business that you really like to interact with texts you there, you're going to see it. 90% of people see text messaging in the first, a text message in the first 2 minutes. And that's really just the best way to get important information in front of customers. And also, I know it's big in NetSuite to communicate with employees. So really this integration and messaging capability isn't just necessarily only for customer facing. It's also just internal teams, just, making sure people, with COVID, there are shutdowns. That's a great way to get those kind of alerts out, shipping updates, things like that. So kind of continuing on to talk a little bit about who we work with and some of the partners. The top three here, Next Technique, Blue Banyan, Anchor Group, these may be familiar names just around the NetSuite space, some of our partners. But I did want to kind of highlight one of the businesses that we worked with, Furnitureland South. It's a company that I worked with just over a year ago, large furniture store in the Northeast. What they were seeing, and this is still not necessarily completely solved just in the industry, but supply chain shortages were huge with COVID. Everything shut down, and they were getting, over double the amount of phone calls on their customer support line that they were typically used to and ready to handle with their staff there. So they came to us with a real big need. They said, hey, we can't get to all these phone calls. Our support line's bogged down. People are doing 3 things at once. We need to get some expectations in front of customers. And, this is simple calls like, hey, I made an order a month ago. Can you update me where my couch is? Not something that necessarily needs to be a 5-minute phone call, when they could just simply get a text notification on the update of that. A tracking link, basically anytime the status, they were using sales orders in this case within NetSuite. Anytime the status of that sales order changes, that can be the trigger for an SMS. So that's just kind of an anecdote. Another quick one, Titan Solar, they were a solar install company, sending service technicians out to homes, and the texts were showing up, and sometimes the homeowner wasn't there because they forgot about the appointment, or the front gate was locked and they couldn't get in. So they wanted to send brief appointment reminders prior to sending a technician out, rolling a truck, having to pay for that. So you can see on the right, we just have a screenshot of our listing on the Suite App Marketplace. And yeah, we're really proud of 17 5-star reviews. As I said, it's really been growing the last couple of years. And if you do have the time and check out our listing on Suite App and dive into some of those reviews, what they're saying is very positive, and it feels good from kind of our side just to be able to provide a solution that's quite simple but very effective. So yeah, without kind of further ado, I'm going to let Ryan actually jump into NetSuite and show a little bit about how it all works.
Thanks, Justin. Can everybody see my screen? NetSuite on the left, my phone on the right-hand side. Okay, I got some head nods there. Thank you guys so much for having us. My name's Ryan. I'm the manager of solutions at Message Media. I've been using NetSuite for over 9 years. I'm really excited to show you guys our Suite app that Justin just showed to you guys. It's going to be a really, really quick presentation, but after the presentation, you'll have our contact information. We can always go do a really deep dive demo for anybody that wants to see it. So once you install our Suite app from the Suite App Store, you get a nice little tab that can be added to any center you would like, a custom center or any classic center you'd like to add in as well. So our tab gets added on the top. You can click on it, and dashboards are available to add into our app that can pull a lot of different information coming from the text messages. Just a few quick examples that I have is the inbox on the top for all inbound messages that are coming in, just like an email inbox that you may have as well. On the left-hand side, you have kind of some statistics of all the messages that are coming inbound into your NetSuite, just so you can kind of keep track of how many messages are coming in and making sure you're responding to everything. Before I move forward, if anybody has any type of questions as we go, throw them in the chat. We're going to do a Q&A just in a few minutes as soon as we're done. Awesome. So I'm going to show you kind of some of the features that are added when you add our Suite app. So if I go into any relationship record, we have a few features that get added in here. So we have an SMS button, which allows you to send templated and scheduled messages to contacts, customers, leads, prospects, employees, any type of relationship record that you would like. And we also have a conversational messaging, which is a two-way conversation pop-out, which makes replacing phone calls, replacing emails, or any other type of engagement a lot easier to just do via text. So you can see on the left-hand side, I have a message feed here that I can send out a quick message to my customers, maybe to my employees, maybe to my partners or vendors, and it pops up right away on their phone. So I can say, message right back, and the feeds just go back and forth really quick, really easily, and it's all coming through our bundle, which makes it really nice and smooth as well. Maybe you want to replace emails that you're sending with images. You can also pull up images inside of NetSuite, throw in a logo, throw in an image that you want the customer to receive, and send that out to the customer. I have a couple of those here as well. So maybe you have a logo, maybe you have a photo that you need because a technician's on site. Maybe the customer needs to send you an image because you have some damage to a product, you have some type of specific location that they want to see. The customer can take a photo and send it in as well, which makes it really nice and smooth. So this is the way to have two-way conversations with your customers. The next feature I want to show you guys is our batch messaging. So speaking of saved searches, I'm sure you all will be experts in saved searches now or at some point. Our batch messaging is all based on saved searches. So I have a saved search here that has all of our customers that have an appointment or an event associated with them. It pulls in the saved search and it pulls in all the results. So I can send a message to all of these people all at once, or I can pick and choose if I want to as well. I'm just going to select all for now. We have saved templates that are built in as well as customizable to you as the customer. So you can pull in any type of template that you might want to pull in and throw in the message there. It makes it really quick and easy to send a custom message to a large group of people. So maybe I have an onboarding template. Maybe I have a happy birthday message. Maybe someone's, you could create a list of sales orders that happened yesterday, and then today you can send them a text message. So those are just a couple quick examples of batch messaging. And in the configuration tab, we have a couple of scheduling options as well. So I can send that message out one time to the whole group immediately. I can schedule that message to go out to the large group in the future, or I can make it recurring. So my saved search is dynamic. It's pulling in yesterday's sales orders. I can have it run on a daily, weekly, or monthly schedule, and I can send a text to all the new orders every single day, every single week. So your communication and your engagement is automated and really easy to set up. The next feature I want to touch on is automations and workflows outside of this batch messaging. So you can add in a text message anywhere to any type of workflow inside of NetSuite. It's really, really easy to do. You might have, dozens or hundreds of workflows already, and they already send emails, right? Lots of people are not opening their emails, so maybe you want to add in texting as well. So you pull up any type of workflow, you can go into your state, and you can add one single action that creates a text message record, who it's sending to, which record it's sending from, and what template you want it to send. And that's all you need to do. It's really easy to add it in. Our Suite app comes with built-in workflows, so you can just plug and play and turn it on. So that is the quickest demo I've ever done of our Suite app for you guys, because I want to make sure we have time to finish the slides and get to our Q&A. But just very quickly, we have the one-to-one messaging, we have the two-way conversation messaging, we have batch or group messaging based on saved search, we have our dashboards, and we have the workflow automations that can be added to any workflow to send to anyone in your system. Thank you, guys. I'm gonna pull back Justin into the conversation here and go back into slides, and we will take some questions if anyone has them in the chat.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. And Ryan's being a little bit humble too. Something I wanted to just touch on is he's also found a way to have fields within NetSuite change based on the reply to a text. So approving purchase orders or other things that, changing records in NetSuite. So I think that one's really cool. But yeah, implementation is very, very simple given that we're on the Suite App Marketplace. It's really these 4 steps, and in most scenarios, this can be taken care of in 1 to 3 business days, assuming that they don't, the customer doesn't want very specific use cases. But if they do, Ryan and his team are available to help build those out. But yeah, Ryan wrote the quick start guide. I believe it's 9 steps now at this point. Anyone with a fair bit of NetSuite competency can get through it within 30 to 40 minutes. We'll do the activation on our end. We like to schedule a kickoff call because we do try to really, partner with everyone that we work with, get involved in their use cases, provide our experience. So that's done through kickoff call, technical check-ins. But really, this can be done, in a pinch, or it can be done in conjunction with a greater NetSuite implementation or other upgrades. So yeah, thank you very much for the time. I know that was quick. There is kind of a lot more depth. So Ryan and I are more than happy at any point to schedule additional calls. But if you have, it looks like there are some questions.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull them up here for us on this other screen here. So we have the two-way conversation. Is that retained and saved in NetSuite? It 100% is. So all of the conversations that get sent in and out of NetSuite are saved in the communications tab in the record that it was sent and received from. So you can see here that all of those conversations are documented. So if you are a public-facing company, you're doing your SOX audits, everything is saved inside of NetSuite. It's also saved in our portal that Justin quickly touched on, but everything is inside of NetSuite. Sending a URL link to a Chase payment from a customer. If that URL link is inside of a record that the URL is already in a field, you can grab any field inside of a record and send it in a text. We've done it for many, many customers. It's a great way of quickly sending a link to get payments on expense reports or sales orders or anything like that. Awesome. Are messages saved on the customer records? Yes, they are. They're saved on every record that you're sending and receiving from. How to appear on the customer's phone, the name and phone number. So when a text message comes in standard, no matter the provider, it comes in just as the phone number that it's coming from. And then the customer can save that number to pull up like these link previews as well. We usually recommend introducing yourself in the first text message and then potentially sending a V card via text link. So that way it makes it really easy. It's a one-tap save to save as a contact. I can show you guys that as well. Can we automate for employees that have not completed their timesheets for the week? Definitely. So you would create a save search for the employees that haven't submitted or completed their timesheets. You would throw that save search in our batch functionality on a recurring basis, and you would set it up to send every Friday or Monday.
For every day that they don't complete thereafter.
Yeah, exactly. So you can automate it to be daily, weekly, monthly. You can also throw a save search into a workflow and do it every 30 minutes if you really, really want to bug them. Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Last question here, and then I'm going to show you guys something else that's really cool. Are these text messages local? Are they international? How are the charges handled? We have all the pricing that we can send to anybody if they're interested in. The phone number that you're sending and receiving from, it depends on your account. If you want it to be local, like, for me, it'd be 303 or 720. We can get you one of those numbers. If you want a 1-800 number, we can help you out with those as well. If you're a bigger company and you want, you're going to be sending large volumes, we can even do a dedicated short code. So text help to 55678 or something along those lines. Justin can explain all those differences for you as well. The last thing that I wanted to show you guys before we drop off is that last slide that we were pulling up is a QR code. If everyone wants to have a really quick demo on their phone, you're more than welcome to pull up your phone. You can pull up the camera and tap on the QR code. It pulls up an automatic text message to the phone number that's connected to our NetSuite. It says, "Hello, NetSuite." And if you send that message to us, it automatically sends a reply. It's all done out of NetSuite. It comes in through NetSuite. It sends a URL so you can kind of see how that looks from NetSuite as well. And just give you a little bit of a preview of what is possible with our bundle. I'm going to stop there and go back to our contact page. And if anyone has any more questions, oh, there's 2 more questions, sorry. Can you have a phone number dedicated to a particular subsidiary? Yes, you can. We have subsidiary kind of separation within our credentials when you're setting up the app. So you can have different phone numbers set up as well. Great questions, everybody. We'd love to schedule a demo if anyone's interested. We do have Justin's and my emails here pulled up as well. You guys can scan this code if you'd like. And looks like everyone wants to learn more about the workflow automations, which we can dive really deep into that as well on any type of demo you guys would like to have. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone.
We'd like to thank both of you so much for coming and showing that. That was actually one of the most precise consents demos I've seen in a while. So you guys must have some practice at this. So you showed quite a lot of material in a very concise, short time. So we appreciate that. So
thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, and we'll send you
Thank
some links so that you can follow up with the whole group afterwards, and we'll get that off to you right away today. All right, so I'm actually going to be up next in the agenda. We did a little switching around. So we're going to talk about roles and security today. And I'm not going to have any slides. This is going to be all a live demo. So one of the things that I think we got from some of our surveys is that a lot of us are in slightly smaller companies, and quite often we are wearing multiple hats. So if you're in that, whoever one of our companies at 150 licenses, I'm sure you got a security guy on board, takes care of everything, and you're all set. But for many of the others, what we already heard there is like, yep, I had to go solve it myself. I had to figure it out. So we want to dive a little bit into how roles work and how security is, so that you can do some basic tinkering and sort of take care of yourself without having an IT person or have to engage with sort of NetSuite. So let me share my screen and make sure everybody's seeing this. All right, and is that up for everybody fine?
Yes.
All right, let me get my bar out of the way. So if we look at a role, I am in our Ontario NetSuite user group. And if we look at the top, I am in as the administrator, and it is the only role that I have. So you can add additional roles to any user. So it is as simple as going to setup, going to the users, and manage the user. So when you go into this manage user, so up here, I'm going to manage, in a sense, myself. And I'm going to hit the edit tab. And down on the bottom is your access. So we go to the access tab near the bottom here. And currently I have the role of administrator. So I'm going to add 2 more roles here. I'm going to add that I'm an AP clerk, and I'm going to add that I'm an AR clerk. So, and I'm simply going to hit save. So I've now given myself 3 roles in NetSuite. So if I now come up here, and we do need to do just a quick refresh. And it's sometimes not instantaneous. There we are. Let me just log out quick, and then you'll see them. Let me just log out and log back in. Okay. So in the upper corner now, you can see I can work as one of 3 different roles. So as we saw with these tabs across the top, this is the classic layout. I'm in as the administrator, and in a sense, classic is another way of just thinking of seeing all. I'm going to see all the different ones. So if I now go to an AP clerk and watch the menu change as I go this, we get a completely different layout, right? It can be even a different color, anything you want, with, of course, what is appropriate for an AP person. And again, I switch over to an AR clerk, and I no longer going to have vendor tab coming up. We're going to have customer tab coming up before vendors and so forth. So each of these was designed by NetSuite and came, in a sense, out of the box. If you use Suite Success in your setup, you would also not only have a complete set of roles like APAR, controller, stuff like that, but you would have a complete set called Suite Success versions of them, which were more customized to your market vertical, whether that might be manufacturing, professional services, whatever the case may be. So I'm going to switch back into my administrator role. So the next thing I want to do is I want to customize a role. So what's in that role isn't quite doing it for us. So we can go to our, again, setup users. We're now going to manage the various roles. So I'm going to hit on this side here. I'm not going to create a new one. I'm going to go into the existing roles. Now, when you see the existing roles, you'll see next to them, you can't customize the administrator. The administrator, of course, is everything with, godlike powers, as we like to say, but all the rest in general, you can customize. Now, one of the best practices is, again, these are what came out of the box. Don't mess with them, right? So let's look at taking that AR clerk, and I'm going to hit customize. When it comes up, the key part of this is before you make any changes, give it a new name. So instead of custom AR clerk, what I recommend to people is, so that they all come together, is put in your company initials or something. So this is the Ontario NetSuite user group, right? So as I start to customize roles, I will have a complete section together, all with my company initials there. So for now, I'm not going to make any change. I'm simply going to save that. So again, so you can see this now. We come back here, we refresh our screen. And in our manage roles, we now have, in a sense, instead of it saying customize, we can edit our own, in a sense, custom role. It is no longer the standard role that came out of the box. So let's go in and now customize something in this. All right, so what I'm going to show this reaction is, again, this is maybe a small company. You've got your AR clerk, but they need to handle, let's say, something like vendor credits. All right. So we would come down in here. We are looking at what transactions they are able to do. So we simply go down to the bottom, hit a new, and look up whatever we like to find. So is it vendor credits? I think it might be enter vendor credits. And there we are, enter vendor credits. Again, on the side, this is a big got you. A lot of people go add this, they hit save, and they're like, great, they now have vendor credits. Well, no, they can view vendor credits. So on the right-hand side is what level would you like to have with that, in a sense, permission? Can they create it, edit it, full, so forth, right? So in this case, I want them to, and what is the difference between this? So if I hit create, this person could create a new credit. But once it is created and saved, if they made a mistake, they would not be able to go back to it. They would not have the right to edit that credit, right? That is the difference. Full tends to get into the ability to completely control it, delete it, so forth. All right, so let's just go that we want to give them the edit level. So I hit add and save. So if I now go up to my group, I can instantly change over to my AR role to check this. So it is useful as an administrator. You don't have to sort of send, to the employee, go see if you got that now, right? You can simply switch over to that role yourself. And yes, now I can go to vendors and where is it? Where I'm in the AR clerk, transactions. I don't know this well because I'm not into the AP. And I don't know where normally it appears. So let me try this. I'm going to go into preferences. And I am looking for appearance. And I want to use, just trying to, so if everybody sees down here, there's something called use classic interface. By clicking on this, Mark, I wanted to play off what Mark did on this, is he modified the classic interface. So when you now come back and you refresh, notice it went back to, in a sense, the standard menu items, transaction, list, reports. So if you have anybody that's going to switch between roles, it can be very confusing of where did they tuck it in that role? By going back to the classic interface, right, you get to see, in a sense, all the standard NetSuite. So now I can go to my transactions, I can go to my vendors. Where are we here? I'm not seeing it here. I'm sorry, we've got customers, but I'm not seeing the vendor role.
You're not in the new role that you created.
I thought it was in the AR role.
Yeah, but you created a user, and you created a custom version of that AR role.
Yeah,
Oh,
it should be ONSUG AR. Yeah.
Thank you so much for looking at that. All right, so yes, let me go back in here. Worked smooth than my practice demo yesterday. So one sec. So let's get back to that. And we got to go back, and you're correct, assign the role. So we go back to setup, users, manage users. I will go back into the role. And at this point, I'll go to the access. And I'm actually going to remove those out of the box roles. I'm going to hit edit. And I'll remove the out of the box. I'll remove out of the box. And then we will hit the add and go find, as you said, our custom role. There's our Ontario NetSuite user. Add it and save. Thank you for seeing that.
Sometimes those are the best demonstrations. Because you can follow logic, but
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes it's the simplest little thing that you forget that really
exactly
throws you off in a tangent. So it's actually nice to see somebody that uses this a lot is having the same issues that I might have. So that's actually encouraging. No offense, Earl.
You know, it's okay. It's actually on my little cheat sheet here to go through assign rule, and I skipped over the set. And again, a lot of times you don't see it right away. I do find quite often you have to log out and log back in to see access to those new roles.
Yeah, my default is to tell people to do that now because oftentimes that's the case. So
Yeah. It's sort of, you know, I can't come up with the exact list of what you can just hit refresh and what you need to log in and out. But there's my new role. We can go into that. And then again, we can go to vendors and again, here, I did not have the classic on here because I wasn't in. So I'm going to go to my set preferences and go to the appearance and go put on the classic and save. And now I should have transactions. And there's my enter vendor credits now available that wasn't available before. So now that we've added, in a sense, something new, I wanted to touch on those preferences that I showed you. So for many new users, we have them come on board in the company. We'll go say, oh, they get in, we get them the first day, we go to set preferences. We say there's a lot of things we recommend. You could go to appearance and change the color to what you want. One of the ones I teach a lot of people is show internal IDs. So internal IDs, when you have a list up, you can actually see the NetSuite ID, which can be very helpful, right? So the other one is number of rows when you come up is set to 50 and 200, a little limiting for, you know, you got a lot of data. So a lot of times I teach people, oh, let's jump this up to like 200 and 500, right? And turn on those. Well, one of the things you can do is you could preset roles to already have preferences. So let's move back to our administrator. And again, I'm going to go to setup, users. I'm going to manage roles. I'm going to bring up our custom role and edit it. And at first, when I was taught these way back, you know, I focused on, oh, I need to give them a list or report a transaction. I did not realize that you can actually set preferences. Sort of a tucked out of the way and you don't quite see it. So you can come in here and find any of those ones I just mentioned. So let's go show internal IDs. And there it is. So again, now that we've selected that, it now has a nice little pop-up and they make it very user-friendly for them, sort of the non-IT. Yeah, I want to turn it on for them. So I set that. So we also were number of rows, right? Number of rows in list. So let's bounce that up to the 200. And then right next to it was, I think, max entries in drop down. So let's drop that to, let's say, 500. Okay. And last, you could even do something completely, you know, frivolous and pretty. I think you could do, is it appearance, default theme color? There we are. Classic theme color. And we can say, ooh, what would be nice? Let's give them a lovely turquoise, right? And set. So we can save all that. So now when we go into our AR clerk role, the AR clerk is also the teal that I had on my own before it was sort of that purpley shade. And again, if I check the user's preferences now.
I was going to ask if you could override that.
Yeah, and see, there they are. They are now set to 200 and 500. And if I went to the appearance, the is on turquoise and that. Now, the user can override these. So good question there. I could go back in here and change this. But the idea is that if you are going to deploy a standard role to new users, you can preset a whole lot of items, which makes it much more user-friendly than going in. Like I said, I was not taught this when I first onboarded with NetSuite like 3 years back. Discover it, you know, somebody new came along, every time I would teach people, okay, you got to go in here and do this and do this and so, right? So it really worked nicely for that. All right.
Yeah.
Nice. The teaching.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Barb.
I'm the teaching for NetSuite for the roles was garbage, and I have so many role problems I can't even tell you right now.
So that's where we're going to go next. So that's a beautiful lead up for me. So
you know,
one of the things
because they're like people should be able to see stuff they can't, and they you know, their role's the same as somebody who can see it but they can't, and I don't know why, and it's like, and they just basically gave you a spreadsheet of 4,000 lines and go pick stuff.
Oh yeah, that was brutal.
good luck looking through
good.
some of those.
It's not good. So I didn't even know you could do things that you're telling me now, because they were like, oh no, you can't do that. Oh no, you can't do that. I'm like, okay. So
the amount of control you have is quite impressive, and the interface.
Yeah, you're actually alluding to stuff that I mean, the roles I need to review as a whole at my company, but you're telling me things I didn't think I could do, which is awesome. Sorry, and I talked over someone else, so sorry about the dashboard.
Nori, there was another question there.
Yeah,
Yep.
It's just that we also did custom dashboards to the roles, and we created reports. So for my team, for example, when their client's estimate to actuals gets to be 70%, that it changes a color on their report and it pops, it's right in their dashboard. So it's in their face every time they go on. So once we realized how customized it could be, it's been really, really helpful. And I think it really creates more of a user appreciation of the system when things are customized for them as well. Just one more thing, Darrell, and I'll turn it back to you. I have to jump off for a client call, but I have put a link for the topics surveys in the chat. So if people could click on that before you leave, that would be great too. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, for help to run the meeting today. So I want to go back to Barb's comment. She's now got frustrations. People can't get to things they want. They can't see what they want, right? Very, very common. All right, especially now as you add roles. So you saw before I gave an AP role, I gave an AR role. I could tell the user, great, you got your AP hat on, go into your AP role. Then you got your AR hat, go into your AR role. Well, a couple of weeks after that, you're going to see what that user thinks of you, right? They're like, I can't stand it, I can't change it. Can't you just give me one that I go into my NetSuite and all that stuff?
If I could just illustrate from my perspective, just to articulate, we have 17 buildings that we manage, and some people have to see one and not the other. Some people have to see two. Some people have to see multiple entities with different buildings that cross entities, which is all impossible in the roles. So I would have to build them multiple roles. One guy would have had 9, and he goes, yeah, I'm not doing that. So
in some cases, though, you can copy roles, and then also you can control entities or subsidiaries also through permissions. So,
but not in order to approve a vendor bill that crosses, because the
no, that gets very, once you go,
the vendor bills are stuck where your home is, and the employees cross homes, and that's where I'm stuck right now. So
let me touch on, though, when somebody can't get to something. So what I generally have our users do, and I'll show an example, several of my users are just awesome. They'll send a quick email like this is what they taught them, right? You go somewhere, you try to do something. NetSuite makes my life so easy. And when I first had this, they were like, I can't get into X. And then, as you mentioned, there's 4,000 lines in the document they gave it. You're flipping through trying to find which one to give them. So I taught them, hey, take a quick screenshot, and it tells me exactly what I need to go give you. Yeah, transactions, fixed assets, so forth, right? So when you get one of these emails, what will be very helpful is, again, I'm going to jump back in, and I'm going to the setup, manage roles. And I'm going to go down into edit this role. So the slightly confusing area is, where is the permission to add? So you've got to carefully see these various tabs, and that's what people miss. They come in here, it comes up on the transaction tab, they go to the bottom and they look up whatever the new thing they need to give is here. And they look and they look and they don't see it. Okay, it's like it's not here. Okay, or what you've got to carefully look at is these lists get longer. Sometimes it was here further up, but it was only at a view level. Maybe you have to give them an increased level. You can't put the same line in twice. All right. Now, the part that many people miss is there is a report tab, there is a list tab, so forth. So you need to go across these tabs when you quite often can't find what you're looking for in one. You just flip to the others. Again, go to setup, look down, and see what is in setup. Okay. Especially once you have anything else added, custom records. Many things will fall in the custom record. It's like, well, it's a transaction. Well, yes, but it could be way over here. This custom with our Ontario NetSuite user group that NetSuite provides us, free of cost, doesn't have a lot. Once you have other products added into your NetSuite, there is a ton out in here, which you have to be very aware of, especially things like when you get into possibly things like fixed assets, taxes, Avalera, so forth. Many records will come out in here, which is then where, again, you need to give the permission. So by asking users again to send those messages, it usually solves 99% of the issue. You come in, you add, you hit save. As Barb mentioned, usually best practice, tell the user to log in and log out, and they will have it. Sometimes you can just refresh, but most of the time they need to log in and out. All right. The other one, again, to play off what Mark talked about, is that when you come up in here, you can then give different centers and roles. Okay. Again, usually we tell people just stay with classic, but you can literally control everything up here. What I also want to stress is that much as we do complain a lot about NetSuite and a few things they do, by hitting the help screen while in this screen is really quite impressive. So what they do come up and bring is very detailed. The how-to steps are actually really, really well. In fact, one of the ones that, as I was flipping through to get ready this demo was how to add custom centers to custom roles, which was exactly what Mark was showing. All right. I'm just going to bounce back out of there for the sec. Want to give you a big warning about this one. So core administration permissions. So from an IT standpoint, a lot of times you do not want to be in as administrator. Administrator truly is godlike. You can not only get to everything, you could literally close down your NetSuite account, right? You can also do all sorts of record searches. So you have access to every little bit of data. So yes, you go hire Lisa on here and you want her to build something, she's going to want admin usually right away to make sure she can see everything to get it right. Okay. But later on, do you really want somebody to have that administrator? One of the things you could do, if let's say you were assigning somebody administrator, you could make your own custom role admin, not the administrator, and give them core privileges. They would then not have access to certain, call it confidential data that you don't want them to have. And again, more information on that, if you go in here to the help field and just Google this one, right up in Suite Answers, they even include an immaculate video on this to talk about what this does. So this is one of the newer features that came, I believe, in the last release of NetSuite. So I wanted to point that one out, which leads to just a couple other ones. Let me go back to my home. What version of NetSuite am I on? So twice a year our NetSuite gets upgraded. And sometimes you're wondering, has your upgrade happened or not? Where do you find that at a glance? Well, you simply scroll to the bottom of your screen. If you're on your home button, you go to the bottom, right at the bottom, it will tell you what release you're on, right? Well, again, when I first joined NetSuite, nobody told me where to find that, right? So I can see that, yes, I'm on, 2022.1. So around those times when you're waiting, this is where you can find it. Again, another little piece of information to do with sort of security roles is Mark pointed out, hey, is NetSuite having a problem? What data center am I in? Well, what data center are we in? So you go to Setup, company information. So our Ontario NetSuite user group, in a sense, instance is sitting in the US Chicago data center. This is where you do find that. So that if you want to look at those NetSuite up and down charts or the other, link he provided, you'll know which area you are actually located in. So the last one to do with security I want to talk about is, of course, the person calls, and I'm locked out of NetSuite. How do I reset myself? Well, they have their own self-reset nowadays, but if you are having trouble now, they did a very nice to set up user reset tool right in the admin menu. So if we come up here, they made this much simpler in the past when you had to go to the edit the user, and then go trigger. Now you can simply put in the user's email address, initiate a password reset, clear their security questions, so forth. So they made this very quick and easy. The old way was literally you had to go to setup, users, manage users, select the user, edit the user, go down to their access tab. It was all down there, but now they made it nice and easy to get to quickly. The last one I want to point out is also two-factor authentication. So by default, NetSuite turns on two-factor authentication for admins. It is not turned on by default for other roles. So right down here, again, they make it really easy to review your company. So in that same setup, users, two-factor authentication roles, up comes a complete list. So scroll down here. So all roles will be listed here. You can see our new AR role we created is here. And this is where at a quick glance, you can say, yeah, I want to have my AP clerks have to have two-factor. And then from there, how often? So after they've been asked once, do I want to let them off the hook for 30 days? No, I'm going to annoy the hell out of them and go on vacation for 2 weeks and set it to 4 hours and have them constantly get bugged while I'm gone. So they'll be so happy when I come home and I can turn that off.
I have so many people asking me to turn that off, and I'm like, nope, our company requires it. Sorry.
Yeah. So that's where it is per roles, because again, there could be a possibility maybe certain roles you don't want it on, or you're more forgiving. Okay, I'm going to let my CFO actually only do his every 30 days, because if not, I won't get that raise next year, right? But meanwhile, the clerks now, I'm going to make them do it every day when they sign in. Okay, so it's a really quick and easy way to get to. Back on the actual role page, you could have turned it on there and set it, but they built this beautiful screen so you can go across. And again, as I believe, it might have been from the demo, they were mentioning, yeah, they're SOX compliant, and you could go look up all the transactions there and message media. You can come out to this screen and boom, immediately print this for your auditors and say, look, this is what we've got turned on, and here's the proof. All right. So that wraps up our demo for today. So what I'd like to do is stop sharing and turn the screen back over to Mark for our new feature that we're going to try to start adding each meeting, which is bring a question.
Thanks, Terrell. And that was great. And I picked up a few things that I did not know before, which was awesome. That's really good. Thank you.
I always learn so much when I come to these. It's exciting.
All right, so this section, we could spend, as long as you want on this part of the agenda, and that's, any questions that we can try to answer. So, and what I'm hoping is, someone would have that answer to the question, not necessarily myself or any of the board members, but this is why we're a community. We're trying to help out each other. So I did see something get popped up into the chat. Office 365 ODBC connection cannot work with 2FA in NetSuite. How can we get around that? Anybody know the answer to that one? I know that we're using, we're not necessarily using ODBC, but we use a number of other connections within NetSuite, and we use token based to do that interchange. I'm not sure. You're obviously using it a user base, which yes, 2FA would be on that, then you may want to look at using a token access instead for that solution. Margie.
Yeah, I was gonna say Margie has her hand up.
Okay. Hi, I have a question. I have a role, one world. The person has a role that is restricted to their subsidiary. Yet we want them to be able to enter the intercompany inventory transfer request, enter one of those basically as a request. So if they have if their role is a subsidiary restriction to the user subsidiary, which is in another country, how can I let them do that? Because there is a checkbox that says allow cross subsidiary record viewing, but that still doesn't allow them to go in and enter under transactions, inventory, enter intercompany transfer order. Anybody have any idea how I can provide that permission under the role they have?
I'm not sure if Lisa can answer this better than I, but far as I know, and again, I've only been on NetSuite 3 years, I would have to make them a separate role that actually has all subsidiaries, right? And I would have to force them to shift out of their primary role into that. You could make that other role fairly restrictive to only have, in a sense, maybe the items for that job, so that they couldn't get to other things you don't want them to be in other subsidiaries. Oh, I accidentally stayed in there by mistake, and suddenly I'm entering something in the wrong subsidiary, right? But I only know to fix it by having a second role. Again, you could make bright colors on it, change it so they're, oh yes, I'm definitely in, my alternative, limited role.
I was going to say we had to do the same thing, Margie, because I have 6 entities, and they need to be able to enter something in an entity that isn't their home entity. So I had to build additional roles, and in some cases I had to build the person again, so they're actually multiple employees.
Oh,
to get around the home thing, because sometimes they're stuck with their home base, right? Depending on what I needed them to do. My CFO, for example, has a role specific to every single entity, which he logs in separately. But I built him. He's actually 6 employees right now.
But then does he take up 6 seats?
Yes, he does.
Oh,
that's crazy.
I know. So these are things that I'm working. This is the workaround till I get where I need to go right now.
Yeah, I mean, someone like the CFO should have one role and it's view only on everything. Knock yourself out. You can see anything, but you're not doing anything.
But something we custom built. So, like Lisa, something we custom built was giving me a headache, and it wouldn't let him to touch it. So there's a custom build thing that we had built into NetSuite, and that's giving me the grief. It's not the other things, it's that one particular thing. So these are things I'm working around. But in the meantime, you have to build multiple roles for the people, yes.
And then do you just take away all the other permissions except that one thing?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Depends on how much you want to be locked down, Margie. Like you said, if you switch over, my worry would be, they suddenly could start working in the wrong subsidiary and cause problems.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? I'd be worried about that.
Yeah, which is why then you could remove, back to what Mark showed, you could make a custom center versus the classic center with just on that center tab, let's say transactions, vendors, and the one thing they need to do. So they come up there, they'd be obvious they're in their alternate role because literally all they have is one menu item, right? And they want to get back to their day job, right? They could then switch back over their other role. That would be my simplest suggestion, but.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I deal with a company with 400 subsidiaries and the roles are out of control. And I have been trying desperately to work with NetSuite to improve the roles, because I shouldn't have to have an Australian accountant role and a Canadian accountant role. It's bleeding obvious. I'm an accountant. What subs do I handle? I should be able to put it at the user level, not at the role level. So NetSuite's humoring me by listening, just because this client that they have pay them a lot of money, so they might do something. I just don't know. But yeah, we've got the same problem with advanced journal entry. Like Australia wants to enter an advanced journal entry to push it to Canada, but they only see Australian, so they can't even do the advanced journal entry. And only corporate in Canada can do the advanced journal entry, and they're getting pissed off that they have to do all the work, right? And they want Australia to do the journal, and it's like, but we don't want them to see your books. So it's another role, and it's ugly.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then they complain that they have to keep swapping roles.
Well, and then you hear that, oh, I forgot, or I logging in and out, and then the two-factor kicks in every time, and they're like, I hate this.
I thought NetSuite had mentioned at one point, maybe it was just in my dreams, that if you have 5 roles, you'll have all the permissions of all the roles, like they would merge them. Did
No,
anyone
it's
else
role-
hear that, or did I
No,
like dream
no.
that? Okay.
No, they're specific by the role. You can restrict the role right down. So I have people that can do vendor payables in another entity, but they can't enter an expense account, or they can't touch sales. They can't touch other things. So.
Okay. Thank
It
you.
would be great if they could have that child-parent relationship on roles, right?
Right,
So when
right.
parent, all those
Push that,
together.
Lisa. Keep pushing, Lisa. Keep pushing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chantal, you had a question about Moneris. Is anyone using Moneris as a payment processor?
We've encountered problems with fees with what we're able to use with NetSuite. So I'm wondering if somebody has been using Moneris, or maybe another Canadian payment processor, because the US is killing us right now.
Yeah, we use Moneris, but we haven't integrated it.
Oh, it's not
into
integrated.
NetSuite. No. So we actually run Moneris through Salesforce right now. Salesforce.com.
Okay.
So because the integration was giving us a lot of grief, so we left it in the Salesforce where a lot of the front facing is taking place. But Moneris is not user friendly, and we're actually looking to replace it as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because we're completely integrated right now with our payment processor. So
and their fees are crazy town. So
yeah, they're huge.
So we never bothered to integrate it because it would have been a nightmare. So we log in and get it directly from the website if we have to, and we didn't integrate at this point.
So how does that work? So if you have a customer and they have do they have a credit card on their file?
No, they actually can do it through Salesforce.com. So we have a connector there.
Oh, okay. So it's actually payment wise, it's better to actually pay for Salesforce and then have the Moneris.
Right. So they have a link. They can go into Salesforce, put their credit card number in, and it will process.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think it depends on where you want the process.
Yeah, we never put it into NetSuite because it just sort of was a nightmare. So we're sort of doing a piggyback from Salesforce into right now, but
okay,
it's not perfect, and we're looking to integrate. But in order to integrate other things into NetSuite, including the Salesforce direct link, which we haven't built yet, we're looking at switching out Moneris.
Okay, and just so you're aware, we are using VersaPay right now, and we're completely integrated.
Yeah.
So we also use our website is actually integrated is a NetSuite product as well. Yeah. So it all goes through there. Yeah. Back office is all integrated. We don't have
we're looking to go there, but we're looking to swap out Moneris and Square too. Having issues with Square.
Chantal, can't VersaPay? I remember they were a sponsor several meetings back. Don't they also provide that they could do the processing?
No, they do the processing. It's just that the fees are huge. They're really high right now. Like our credit card charges, processing fee has actually doubled since COVID.
But I thought you could get away with not using Moneris then. VersaPay also would act as, I don't know the correct term.
Oh, that's what we're doing. The thing is I want to switch to Moneris because their fees are lower.
Oh, you're trying to switch to Moneris. Sorry, I thought you
were using it.
Okay, sorry.
Our Moneris fees have gone way up though, so I would be careful.
Okay, yeah.
So we're looking to get away from Moneris because they're way up.
I think it's probably everything across the board.
I
That's
think
what
it's
we're
the
thinking.
industry, frankly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's your initial deal, and of course, once your renewal cycle kicks in, it goes up. So it might be
Yeah.
that. The grass may look greener at least for 1 year, but
Exactly.
yeah, so.
I just promised our accounting department that I'd look into it because we're the only department that uses NetSuite across, like through the whole institution of like the college, and they're just looking at our expenses going, you guys need to bring this thing down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So Barbara,
I'm finding Manarison Square are doubling and tripling as well.
Okay. So
Great,
Barbara,
thanks.
if you want to see it in action like VersaPay, we can do a little, I can show you a demo if you want.
That would be lovely, Chantal. Thank you.
Yeah.
We also have up on the website, remember we record all prior meetings. So up, if you hit our website, there's the Versa demo is completely up there from one of them. I think they were 2 meetings
Ooh.
back as our sponsor.
That's
So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Their
right.
service is great though. Like,
Yeah.
although
Is
their
it?
fees are high, their service is great.
I had a question. I had a question about budgeting. So we are supposed to go into NSPB and we're scared of it because our NetSuite install was such a garbage can. And I'm wondering if anyone has walked away from NetSuite and NSPB, or what are they using instead before we actually go through the hassle of trying to install this thing that probably, I'm guessing, isn't going to work the way we want it to. Anyone?
We had a very poor experience implementing NetSuite's forecasting and budgeting solution, and we walked away. So it was, I think, about 18 months off and on trying to get it to work, and it just could not. They couldn't adjust to our custom GL and the structure.
Well, that's what I'm
coming in. Structure.
That's what I'm coming in now. Like they're saying, well, we can't do all, I know you built all these segments, but we can't accommodate all the segments, which then, so what are we using instead that, integrates with NetSuite instead of spreadsheeting, I guess.
So there are some good choices out there for data analytics. We've looked at a few of them. There's one from a Canadian company called Gurus. They're also a consultant firm out of Montreal. They did have a solution, and they built their platform for BI on Google. I didn't want to go to Google because we're completely a Microsoft house. So we went to Power BI. And we partnered with another company called Satori out of the US, and they built us our complete financial makeup and had us live within 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So essentially, they take your NetSuite database and export it into Microsoft Azure AD container, blob, and it's updated every hour via saved searches. And I would be happy to walk through that, just to show you, super quick here. I'm going to pause the recording though, because I'm going to show some financial stuff. Hold on.
AG has
This meeting
bugs,
is being recorded.
Bugs. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That's exactly what I'm hearing, is that it's full of bugs and it never worked. And now Mark's just sort of saying the same thing, right?
And I'm not even sure I'm having bugs, to be honest with you. I'm just getting these warnings that says the rule was processed with warnings, but I don't know what the warning is.
Real.
I was just curious if anyone had ever seen that before.
Is anyone else on the NPSB solution?
Not here. No.
Okay. Well, thanks anyway. Yeah, it seems to be working. It's just I went to check something about a data load, and I was like, what's all these little yellow icons? But I'll log a ticket.
Now, also having said that, NetSuite is advancing their what they call data warehouse, right, through Suite Analytics, and you can. In Suite Analytics, you can create multiple data sets, which gets away from multiple joins to the data. So I think they're maturing in that area, but they're still not giving ability to put in a data warehouse all transaction types. So, and I think if you talk to Satori, they'll be quick to tell you that, you know, NetSuite's advancing in that area, but I think it was something silly like credit memos. And that transaction is not available in the data warehouse. So how can you look at net sales without credit memos?
Right.
Yeah. So
Mark, I noticed, so when I'm looking at their website, they do NetSuite and Salesforce. Do you have an occasion where you put those two together? Do you use Salesforce?
we do not, no.
See, I'm wondering if that would solve some of our problems where the two systems are not talking nicely to each other. That's interesting. That's cool. Thank you for that.
So Barb, we do use the Solego connector between Salesforce and NetSuite, which is working very well for us. They have
Solego, okay.
Yeah, so Solego has a pre-packaged connector that works very well. And then you can
Salesforce.
Yeah, back and forth.
Okay.
And then
I'll let my IT guy go. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. See, I learned so much when I come here. You guys just tell me things and I go, woohoo.
All right, well, I want to cut that off. I think this is a new feature that we'd have been asked for, and it's obviously successful and it's getting lots of feedback from the group. So we're going to add this on each of the future quarterly meetings, but we do want to leave a little time here for Lisa and be respectful of everybody's time. So I'm going to turn it over to Lisa to give a little teaser for the July meeting.
So can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Fabulous. So I'm all about collaboration. I'm all about sharing knowledge and save searches and formulas, because we all keep reinventing the wheel, and I feel that we need to collaborate. So what I've got here is an example of a save search where I say, okay, I paid money. I need to know the detail of the money I paid, like what vendor I paid, etc. But I also want to know the bank account that paid it. So you have the conflict of mainline has the bank, but the not mainline has all the details. So one of these formulas that I have is I say, go and give me all my bill payment. Don't give me the main line. But then I have a formula that says when the line number is not equal to 0, give me the account main or give me the bank name. So it's a way of saying, just because I've said I don't want to see the main line, I still can get data from the main line. So I found that a very useful formula, and I'm here to share that knowledge. And I can put this in the chat. Another formula that I always use, because people always complain about the whole aging report doesn't tie to the financials, and they're using dates and not posting periods. This is a save search that I have to look for inconsistent posting periods so that they can explain what went wrong. So the whole purpose of one of the sessions we will have next month is to ask people to share their knowledge, because I don't know everything and I don't know what you want to know. So it's the concept of send messages to people to say, I want a report that does this. Who's done it? How can it be done? Because it shouldn't be this hard. I mean, that's one of the challenges with NetSuite. It all seems to be so hard, and it really shouldn't. And someone else has invented the wheel. Like I had problems at one place where customers pay a lot of deposits and trying to keep track. Have we used all the deposits? Have they been all applied against the orders? And when you're in a high volume situation, it gets out of control quickly. So we came up with this save search that's grouped all the transactions and gave me back the details of how much has been is unapplied, i.e. they have a deposit remaining and I need to deal with it because it's clear that I probably have a receivable on my books and I didn't realize they had paid me money. So the next session will be collaborating on formulas and collaborating on your favorite report that you think others would be interested. And that's the conclusion of my thing.
I'm just going to quickly leap off of that before we close today. And let me just do, I'll get you to stop sharing there. And I will quickly share my screen again. So one of the benefits when you join the user group is that if you come up to the website, is everybody seeing that?
Yep.
And you do your member sign in, there are member resources up here. So this is where, following usually a day or two after each of our meeting, I go up and I will put the recordings that we did from the prior meetings. It's a great way of going back and looking at, you know, some of our sponsors and the demos, right? But, you know, you go back and look at workflow, scripting, so forth. The brief agenda is on each one and what might be covered. But just to sort of play off of Lisa, tips for NetSuite save searches. Guess who the author of this document was, right? So again, she said she doesn't know anything. I beg to differ with her, because so far I have yet to find something she hasn't known. But, you know, you come out here and you look at some of the list out here alone, and this is, again, where Lisa talked about collaborating, right? This is the whole purpose of the user group. So if you have something you'd love to share to the groups, a great resource for others, we'll put it up here in the member resources. So please send that to me. We can get that posted up, right? But, you know, I was very excited today the way the Bring a Question went. I look forward to that at the next meeting. And again, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Mesher Meeting, again today for helping us out and again, funding our user group. And I just want to thank all of you for taking time out of your day to be here, because it really is the collaboration together that we'll all get better with NetSuite. We'll all make our jobs easier. And I thank you all for coming today. Just stop that there. So thank you so much. Everybody enjoy the day. And we look forward to seeing you on Thursday, July 21st.
Darrell, what's the name of that company?
Which company was that?
It's Lego, Salago?
The Lego, correct. And if you, again, just come up to the homepage of the user group, and I think their sponsor logo is, no, they just dropped back. They were 4 meetings back, so you'll just have to go to the member resources, but it's Celigo, C-E-L-I-G-O. So, but again, you can come up here, you click on any of your
I'll take
sponsors.
a look at that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I just
Right off to their sites. Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep.